Welcome to the Love and Meaning podcast. I'm your host, Christelle Robinson-Tiedemann. Let's talk about giving and receiving today. So this wonderful topic came up in my last Friday night live dive. And let me actually take this opportunity to tell you about Friday night live dives. I'm so excited about this. So I have started something new to get more interactive with you and to get really deep into the topics that are discussed in Love and Meaning. So in addition to the podcast now dropping once a week, currently it's Mondays at 8 a.m., Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, my Goddess of Practicality YouTube page. Every Friday evening at 6 p.m. EST, you are welcome to meet me on the Goddess of Practicality YouTube page for a Friday night live deep dive into the topics of love and meaning. So come and bring your questions, bring your comments, just say what it's meant to you, say what you've learned, say things that you'd love to hear more about, ask me questions about me. I want to hear things about you. It is a really fun and interactive space where we can deepen our inner work together, bring it to life, as well as get to know each other. I think community is an extremely important aspect of inner work, and it's been a huge aspect of it for me in terms of my growth, in terms of my depth. So I wanted a way to bring this out of the recording room and into our lives. So come and hang out with me. Every Friday, 6 p.m. EST, Goddess of Practicality YouTube page, Friday night, live dive into the love and meaning topics. So I would love to see you there. You're welcome to always drop your questions, your comments. I love to see your questions and your comments underneath the podcast, whatever platform that you're watching on, whether it's YouTube, you can drop it in the comments. If it's on Spotify, or it's on Apple Podcast, if you scroll down below the episode, you will see a Q&A section. You can type your questions or comments, or you can even voice note it to me. So drop your questions and your comments there, and I will cover it on the Friday. And if you want to join us live, just come join us live and ask us your questions right there. So it's been super, super fun. The replays are available. So the replays are up and they'll stay up on my YouTube page, the Goddess of Practicality YouTube page. And, check out the old ones and then come and join us live. It's been such an amazing, amazing thing already. And we're just 2 weeks in at this point. So I can't wait to see where this goes. So in our last live session, the topic of giving and receiving came up, and I thought, ooh, this is a good one, because the way I think of giving and receiving now is such a major shift from my upbringing. And I know that I'm not an outlier in this. I know a lot of people have experienced the same thing when it comes to learning about giving and receiving, as well as observing like what has been demonstrated to us about giving and receiving growing up. And the major shift is that what I know now is that giving and receiving are on the same continuum. What I was taught when I was young is that it's good to receive, it's good to give, but it's not good to receive. And no one ever necessarily blatantly said it in that sentence just like that, but it was always a subtle push, and definitely strong in demonstration. Like, my mother is a really, really good example of this. And she's been working on this actively now, because we've grown up, my sibling and I, and now re-taught her the concepts that we've learned. And she's trying to incorporate it into her life. But a really difficult time receiving and constantly giving and overgiving. So, it shows up in seeing somebody really, really push and do a lot for others and go out of their way for others, and then refuse help if it's offered, or not know how to say no, when they've gone way past their limit. These are all examples of giving and receiving that we grow up with, and it implants something within us. It implants a yes and no. It becomes a moral implantation in us where we have associated receiving with being bad or not a good person, and giving with being a good person. I even distinctly remember when my mom would teach me to pray. So I was raised Catholic, and I'm no longer a practicing Catholic. But we were raised Catholic. And so when I wanted something, if I had an intention, I was taught in my prayer, my mom would say, like, also mention to God that this is good for other people, and that will help it come faster. Make sure that you frame your prayer around how other people will benefit, not just you, or even better, not you at all. Make it seem like it's for other people. And there's a side of that obviously is very beautiful. I'm not saying that intentions shouldn't be for the world. I actually do strongly believe that. But it was the part where I suddenly got the message that if it's for me, that can't be good enough. That equates to selfishness, and that's not good. So what I learned, and what I've known to be the truth of it now, is that giving and receiving don't actually exist without each other. You can't give without the receive, and the receive doesn't work without the give. That one's a bit obvious, but I don't think we think it's obvious that there is no giving without receiving. So if you give someone something, a present, they have to take it. If we're giving and no one is receiving, are we giving? Like, do we often even stop and think about it in that way? But we consider the giving to be such a wonderful thing that we're doing, and completely disregard the receiving. But they do not actually exist without each other. Imagine you order something on Amazon, and it is sent. So you get the message that it's sent. And then you get the text message that says your package has arrived. And then you go out to and it says left on the front porch, or left in the mailbox or mailroom. And you check the mailbox, and there's no package there. Did Amazon give it to you? You definitely don't consider it that it was given, right? So then you contact Amazon and you say, my package wasn't received. And imagine Amazon was like, but we sent it. We sent it, and yeah, but I didn't get it. All right, well, we sent it. Do you consider, when you say I didn't get it, that the giving of that package has not occurred until when? When has the package officially been given? When it's in your hand, when you receive it. So until you are holding that package, it has not been given. And we know that very clearly when it comes to Amazon. And they know it pretty clearly too, because they have the best customer service ever. And I think the reason they have great customer service is because Amazon gets the giving and receiving thing. They know that if you didn't receive it, they didn't give it. But when a store or any sort of online shop insists that because it was sent, you got it, you don't have a very good experience of that, right? They didn't give it to you. That transaction is not complete until it is received. You need both. You need the give to receive. You need to receive to give. And the same thing is translated into the universe, universal language. So we're going to get a little hairy-fairy here. But this is this is the truth of it. This is how universal law works. And we misunderstand this on such a major level. I misunderstood this on such a major level. I used to be kind of sitting and waiting around for the universe to hand something to me, all the while I was refusing to take it. Refusing to take it. You hear this a lot, the term allowing. Abraham Hicks is one of my favorite teachers of all time. I consumed so much of their material when I was learning about law of attraction because they just state things in such a, I think, very, very clear and practical way. And the state of allowing is something that I was taught by Abraham Hicks. And that my understanding of it has deepened so much over time. I had a shallow understanding of it in the beginning, and I'm still to this day, years later, still getting to the depths of it. I think this is layered work. So allowing really translates to the idea of free will. I mean, if you are a religious person, you've heard of the concept of free will. Excuse me. And the concept of free will works in spirituality too, not just, this isn't a religious concept, but we don't understand that you have a choice. We have a choice. We have free will. Therefore, we have the free will to not receive what the universe is sending us and to what is available to us, because the universe cannot give you anything without your consent. This is the thing. Like we don't get, it doesn't give it to us. We have to receive it, right? It doesn't give it to us without us receiving it, I mean. And oftentimes what is available to us, we're just completely unaware of and unable to see, because it involves the process. Like our part is to take it. So I'm going to use the example of like me wanting to start a business, and so with this example of like wanting to start a business, a very simple thing that came to me very quickly from other people was, okay, start social media. I had such a difficult time with social media. I see this with so many people, right? You're not necessarily a social media person. So it seems like, well, okay, well, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to start making a social media. I have my 9-to-5 job. Like I have all this stuff to do afterwards. Like, where do I have the time? It's such a big and difficult thing for me to start social media. I don't have time. I don't have time to do that. At the same time, looking at other people's, business social media and being like, oh, I want that. It's so cool. I wish that I could start my own business. I don't have time. I don't have time. And then going home and watching Netflix, right? But I don't have time to start a social media. How many of us say this? Like, how many people do I currently see? Like, I don't have time for that. And then 2 days later, they binged the entire new season of Bridgerton. We don't translate that stepping into, so me that stepping into picking up the phone, creating the social media page is me receiving. It's actually me receiving from the universe. The universe is saying, you can have anything. You can have it. You can have it. Here. Okay, universe, I want to start a business. You get the message. Okay, well, maybe start social media first. That could be a step. And I'm not saying this is the only way. Okay, guys, I'm using this as an example. You can start by creating a business social media. This is the way of the world right now. I don't have time. The give was the idea. The receive was you doing it. So let's use myself as an example. The amount of years that I just could not, I don't like social media. That's too much work. Learning curve's too big, blah, 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 blah. I continued to work on myself, right? I continued to do my inner work and learn the essence of allowing, learn where my blocks were, learn the stories that I'm telling myself. And eventually I just started the social media. Everything happened so quickly after that. Okay. The ball started rolling. How long did I spend before that in the I wish, oh, I wish, I can't, I wish, I can't, it's not available to me. And I just simply wouldn't receive what was being given. And what was being given was ideas, clues, pathways, opportunities. Opportunities. You know, a huge turning point for me was when I was told to ask myself the question of what am I gaining by not allowing? What is the benefit of me blocking my receiving? And I want you to think about that for a sec, because it might take a minute to get what I'm saying. When I did some deeper examination, what I came to, and I've seen this with a lot of people, is that oftentimes the major benefit of not allowing things in our life, opportunities in our life, not receiving what the universe is giving us, the benefit is the ability to hold on to our victim story. How am I supposed to now complain that, oh, my life is so hard, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, look how much I do, I'm trying so hard, look how much I do, it's just impossible. We get so attached to this story, and this is subconscious. So I want you to really, put your big kid pants on when you're listening to this. This takes a level of maturity. And this is where the emotional maturity ties into every single layer of inner work. When I stopped and I paused and I thought about it, I realized how much my story, my victim story, blocked me from receiving. Because the reality is that that story became a part of my identity. And therefore, subconsciously, in order to not make myself a liar, I had to make sure that that stayed true. So if I started receiving all of these things, how am I supposed to say it's impossible for me and everything's difficult? I can't. And I don't want to look like a liar. This is the depths of our subconscious. This is how this truly works. And we don't even notice this is happening under the surface. So we have to take a look. We have to pause and take a look at ourselves and realize where we're truly blocking ourselves. Where are we benefiting from not being able to receive? Okay, a really good example of this that we all have seen. Okay, I guarantee we've all seen this. So some of us have been this. I have been this. And I grew up with a very strong example of it, and I continue to see it everywhere. The nagging partner. Oh, you don't pick up your socks, you don't put this away, you don't, I'm the only one who can do the things for the kids right. Nothing ever gets cleaned. Oh, you can't make lunches. When actually what this comes down to is a need for control, and everything has to be done a certain way that you want it. And you truly don't give your partner the opportunity to do the thing that you're complaining about. But why? Why is the opportunity not given? Because then you wouldn't be able to hold onto your story of, look at what I do, look at what a martyr I am, look how hard I work, look at all that I'm doing. I do so much. This is so difficult. Everything's on me. The old adage, like, that women have been hearing for centuries, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. Like, I mean, okay, I guess everyone has been, but it's been one of those things that almost I've seen a lot of women take pride in. And it just burns them out and makes them really miserable. But at a point in my life, I had a very my understanding of feminism was literally self-sabotaging. And this idea of me doing everything myself and exhausting myself, and then having the badge of honor of, look how much I do. Oh, I'm exhausted. Oh, it's so hard. And guess what? Everybody around me would say, yeah, it's so hard. Look at us. Look at what we do. Oh, yeah. And we're complaining, right? But there's a layer of that is rewarding. That is rewarding in our misery. We're patting each other on the back in our misery. You know, when you can stop, allow other people to help, allow other people to do things their way. This idea that, like, oh, I must do it. This is the only way that the kids can get a bath. If I don't do it, like, he's just not going to do it right. Like, it's easier if I just do it. Then I just have to end up doing it again. Do you really have to do it again? Do you have to do it again? Have to? Like, their way is really that bad? Is it possibly just different? Is it possibly that they like to do things with a different structure? Is it possible that their timing doesn't match up with yours? Why does it have to? It's often we don't ask ourselves these questions, and this all comes back to giving and receiving. We cannot receive. We're not taught to receive. We don't see examples of it. And then we trick ourselves with this whole story in our mind. So I started in relationships. Okay, so my first layer with this giving and receiving thing was in relationships, where I started to learn how to receive. And to be honest, my giving needed working too, because when you give from a place of, yeah, look, like, of course I have to do it, it doesn't feel good to the person receiving it. It doesn't feel good. And then we wonder why we don't get the appreciation that we want. That is not how you give. Like, imagine somebody gave you a present in that energy, with that kind of attitude. And then it's the same thing on the receiving end. Like, if you ask your partner to do something for you, and instead of them doing it in that moment, they do it 20 minutes later. And instead of, putting the milk back on the right side of the fridge, they put it back on the left side, and it's like, ugh. And then you have to move it. I'm very guilty of this myself. Okay. So these are why I'm using these examples. Like, can you imagine you received a present in that way? Here you go. Ugh. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. The heck? Like, no, nobody wants that. And I am very good at receiving presents. It's very interesting that when I was learning all of this, I used myself as an example for myself to see how the giving and receiving energetics work. And it showed up to be so true, because people love to give me presents. People love to give me presents. Okay. Because apparently the way that I receive presents is really delicious for them to experience. I've been told this multiple times. And this is not something that I was consciously doing. I really love receiving presents. So I feel a lot of joy and excitement, and it's shown in my face and my voice and my body. And people really seem to love that, and therefore they love to give me presents. And I receive a lot of presents. I really do. Even the universe often surprises me with things. This is the truth. But then in relationships, it was a completely different story. Like the giving, the ways that your partner gives to you in small ways, and it's just kind of like completely overlooked or, you know, shut down. Like that's not a way that people want to give. And because you can't receive, they will stop giving. And then you'll complain that they're not giving, you know? So this was the first layer that I worked on. And oh my goodness, the difference in my relationship. Such a difference in my relationship. I now experience in my relationship such a giving partner, like such a kind and giving partner. I can't run the victim story. It doesn't fit here. And I no longer need that story. Therefore, I'm happy. I get the benefit now. The benefit is no longer the story. The benefit now is having a really thoughtful and giving partner. And I still to this day need to work on my receiving. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but boy, have I come a long way. And I know that because he's a representation of my ability to receive. And I still have growth in it. So this is a constant thing to look at. Another great example of this is at work. I see this at work all the time. The people that are always overdoing, doing so much. There are some employees that do very little, and then there are some employees that do everything. But they get the badge of honor of, look how much I do. I'm the one who does everything. And if help is offered, they refuse it because they want it done a certain way. Or another sneaky way that shows up, if they're asked to do something else on top of the million things that they already have committed to, overcommitted, okay, overgiving, instead of saying, no, it's too much, it fits the story of I do everything, to just say, okay, yeah, sure, fine. Complain about it, right? Complain about it, but still say yes and add more to their plate. And then it fits the martyr story. We all see this. This is giving and receiving. There is no receiving happening there. But then the thing is that in these examples, what shows up from the universe is the universe will not give me the thing that I want. Look at how easy other people have it. Look at that person's life. Oh, must be nice. That's the favorite statement. Must be nice. But you're refusing to receive what's already being offered to you. That's how you get to must be nice. It actually feels way better to be the person that people are must be nicing rather than the person saying must be nice. But a lot of us choose to be the person saying must be nice. I'm just going to put it out there. As someone who used to be the one saying must be nice, I really, really love being the person that other people say, well, must be nice. Guess what? It is. It really is. I'm just going to be really honest about that. It really is. When we drop our story, we can start to feel that and experience that. Another very clear example of where our ability to understand that giving and receiving are the same and they don't really exist without each other is in money. And we all have a set point for how much money we allow ourselves to receive, but we don't realize that it is an allowing process, right? We all have these kind of subconscious contracts that state we kind of give ourselves a level. Like if we could translate our level into an amount of money, if we could translate our level of giving into an amount of money, that is what you're receiving. So the money that we're receiving translates into what we think our giving is. And what you'll notice is that, this is me. This is what I noticed with me. And this really, I'm going to be moving into tackling the money one. And like, this is the next big layer, but it all plays a big picture. So overgiving, you will often see are the same people that have a very difficult time receiving large amounts of money. It's the same story. So that sounds weird, right? So, but this is truly how it works. The story of the victim story, I do so much, look at how much I do. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm always giving. It's always me. Got to do it myself. That story actually comes from a place of not feeling like enough. And that's why we have to prove we're enough with our story. And how it shows up in terms of receiving is not a lot of money. And the more money that does show up, the more we need to push the story. Because underneath it all is a belief that we're not good enough. And that belief is blocking our ability to receive. This is time and time again, I see these go hand in hand. And I'm a perfect example of it. And as I've been able to drop layers and layers of my story and drop layers of beliefs, more money has come in. Not to the level that I know that I am capable of. And that's just more layers of work. But it comes down to the belief. I have done enough inner work to be honest with myself. So does this make sense? Is this all coming together? Are we understanding that on a very base level, giving doesn't exist unless someone is receiving? If Amazon sends the package and you don't get it, it wasn't given because you didn't receive it. And it's the same thing with everything else. The difference is that it's not as cut and dry as package arrived on the doorstep. We receive from the universe in nudges, in opportunities presented, in, hey, would you like to try this? And there's a course there available to take. And, oh, I don't have time for that. You've been wanting to, start your own business and learn this certain thing. And the course becomes available. And it's cheaper than it's ever been. And you actually have the money for it. Oh, and I don't have time for that. That opportunity was not received, but it was given. It was like presented to you, right? And then the thing is that we say that the universe didn't give it to us, but it's simply because we didn't receive. So the onus is on both parts. I encourage those of you who can relate to my story to start working on the receiving end. Start working on the receiving end because it completes the giving process. And we all want to give. This is the thing. I also promise you that you will become a better giver once you learn to receive. You will become a better giver once you learn to receive. Another side effect of that is losing that resentment, losing that martyr story every time you give. Because you don't need the story. Because when you know how to receive, you know how delicious it feels. You give with your whole freaking heart. Not because you need to prove something, just because it feels so good, you know what that receiving feels like. You become such a wonderful giver. I've only become more generous, more kind, more loving as I learn to receive. from others, from the universe. And there's so much more growth for me to, like, so much more for me to learn in this. I will continue to share in my giving and receiving journey, but start to take a look at a very baseline level at how do you receive from those around you and from the universe? What are your stories? Do you need to complain? Do you let people do things for you, show up for you? And if you don't, right? What's the reason? What's the story? Why? Why can't they help you? Why can't people do things for you? Is that story true? What would happen if it wasn't true? What would happen? These are all contemplation questions. Be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, be loving with yourself. This is a process of growth. It's not a process of beating up. That doesn't work. And it'll only make you not move forward. It will feed the story that you don't want. So curiosity here. We want curiosity, not judgment. Do your contemplations. Come and chat with me on Friday night live dive on my Goddess of Practicality YouTube page. Let's talk about it. I would love to hear your contemplations. Bring your questions. Bring it all. We'll have a really, really deep, beautiful conversation. I love you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you on the next one.